Deep in the ancient Pali texts, there's this one single word that pretty much unlocks our entire inner world. And today, we're going to turn that key.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like your mind is just a stormy sea? You know the feeling? It's pulling you in a million different directions. Waves of anxiety, distraction, frustration, just pulling you under. It is exhausting, and it is a deeply, deeply human experience.
But what if those exact same ancient texts didn't just describe the storm, but actually gave us a map to navigate right through it? A path to find that calm water, even when the waves are crashing all around us.
To even begin that journey, we first have to get to know the vessel we're sailing in. We need to meet our own mind, or as the texts call it, our Citta.
The Pali word is Citta, and listen, it is so much more than just mind or thought. I want you to think of it as your entire inner landscape. It's your state of consciousness, the feeling in your heart, the very core of your personal experience. It's the whole shebang.
So what does that landscape look like when we just let it run wild? Well, the texts have a very specific and honestly a surprisingly relatable description for the mind in its raw, untrained state.
The term they use is apakilitam chittam. Now, I know defiled or stained might sound a little harsh, right? But the idea isn't that the mind is inherently bad. Think of it more like a perfectly clear camera lens that's just been smudged. The lens itself is fine, but its ability to see clearly is, well, it's obscured by these stains.
So what are these smudges? The texts point to 5 main defilements. You've got sensual desire, that endless chase for the next pleasure. Then there's ill will, the resentment we hang on to after an argument. There's sloth and drowsiness, that foggy feeling when you just can't get off the couch. Restlessness and worry, that's your mind jumping from one anxiety to the next. And finally, doubt, the kind of uncertainty that just paralyzes you. The texts say these states make our mind weak and brittle, totally unable to focus. And I think we can all relate to that.
Now here's the crucial point. This inner state isn't just an internal problem. This quote from the text is incredibly direct. An unprotected mind, a sitte arakite, leads directly to unprotected actions and speech. What's going on inside inevitably spills out into the world, affecting everything we do and everything we say.
Okay, so that's the problem. A stained, unprotected mind. But of course, these texts wouldn't be so widely studied if they just left us hanging there. No, they lay out a clear, actionable path to clean that lens. This path is called Citta Bhavana. Now, bhavana means cultivation or development. I absolutely love this term because it frames the work not as some kind of epic battle, but as a form of inner gardening, right? You're not fighting the weeds, you are actively cultivating the qualities you actually want to grow. It's an intentional, patient process.
And this slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? It shows the 2 paths available to us. On one side, you have the unprotected mind, where our thoughts, words, and actions get all corrupted and lead us into this downward spiral. But on the other, you have a protected mind, a rakite chittasa, where we act with real intention and care. It's the difference between being lost at sea and charting a clear course. So how do we actually do this? Well, the path is broken down into 3 trainings. I want you to think of it like building a house. First, you need higher virtue. This is your solid foundation, built with ethical actions and speech. Then you build the structure with higher mind. That's developing stable concentration, maybe through meditation. And finally, you install the windows with higher wisdom, using that focus to see the world with absolute clarity. It's a complete system for transformation.
So, if we walk this path of cultivation, where does it actually lead? What's the ultimate destination? What does a fully trained citta actually look like, and more importantly, feel like?
The goal is described by this just beautiful term, su vimutta citto. Su means well or completely. Vimutta means liberated or released. And citto, of course, is the mind. So put it all together, a well-liberated mind. A mind in a state of just profound freedom.
Liberated from what exactly? Well, from the 3 root poisons that fuel all those defilements we talked about earlier. Raga, that's greed and craving. Dosa, that's hatred and aversion. And moha, the fundamental ignorance of how things really are. When you're free from these, you've basically shut down the engine of your own suffering.
To help us really grasp this, the texts offer this incredible image. A liberated mind is like a solid rock mountain, a selo pabato. Just imagine the fierce winds of life, criticism, loss, praise, gain, blowing against it.
The mountain doesn't budge. It just remains stable, steadfast, and at peace. That is the promise of Citta Bhavana.
Okay, this is all fascinating as a 2,500-year-old concept, but how does it apply to us right now, in our modern world of notifications and deadlines? How do we begin our own journey?
And yeah, that brings us to the most important question of all, doesn't it? How do we actually start this journey? How do we go from being that stormy sea to becoming the solid mountain?
Well, the starting point offered in the text isn't some grand, complicated gesture. It's actually a simple, profound practice, Citta Cittanopassana, which means observing the mind within the mind. It just means turning your awareness inward and looking at what's happening in your citta, without any judgment or interference.
And this is the key. The first step isn't to fight the storm. It's not to judge the defilements or try to force them away. The first step is just to watch, to see the anger arise, to notice the craving, to feel the restlessness, and to simply acknowledge, okay, this is here now.
And that's your starting point. The entire journey from a stormy sea to a solid mountain begins with this one simple step. So ask yourself, what is one thought, one feeling that you can simply watch today? Not to change it, not to judge it, just to finally meet your own citta right where it is.